Chagrined by a mission within a mission, Rogers confronts Fury, who shows him Project Insight, a program tasked to preemptively eliminate hostiles. Fury is locked out of Insight, attacked and shot by the Winter Soldier. Fury dies. Rogers and Natasha become targets after questioning. Wilson aids in the counteroffensive, but they get captured as Rogers is paralyzed by the sight of Bucky. They escape to find Fury alive. Rogers exposes Pierce and Hydra. Agents choose sides. A big battle commences and culminates in a final showdown between Rogers and Bucky, with helicarriers falling out of the sky.
Hello darling, this is Writerzeye. Thanks for watching. You are supporting my writing habit, and if you love spy-fi and sci-fi trilogies, subscribe for your free copy of Volume 1. See details linked below.
It took us a while, but we eventually figured out that all these movies are connected in the MCU and that every film is purposed to drive the overarching storyline and flesh up the protagonists of the current film. And at these two directives, The Winter Soldier succeeds. It is a brilliant, clever, and audacious piece of work, possibly too clever for its own good. At face value, most films are innocuous pieces of entertainment, but a closer look at some often reveals the reverse, with films ranging from the covertly or inadvertently political to blatant nationalistic propaganda. The Winter Soldier is anything but innocuous. It is dangerous, it is scary, and possibly a prophetic warning with a Casandra warning. Released in 2014, I watched it again recently and was deeply concerned at how prophetic it turned out to be. So great was my concern that this upload has been heavily redacted. It's plutonium, and I'm just a squirrel with a nut. I can't have Headmaster YouTube giving us the slipper now, can we? Rapping our knuckles or not? Well, let's examine it superficially first before the shallow dive. With the brain tucked in for the night, The Winter Soldier has a few flaws that we didn't notice or care about on our first viewing. It's not a lecture at CERN, is it? The acting was good, and the script by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely really comes to life. It was so good, in fact, that critics and the audience aligned for this film like a solar eclipse. Ladies and gentlemen, here lies an example of good writing. And to guide my own writing,
from books and writing gurus I donated money to, I got almost 300 tips that I distilled down to 20 essential guiding tenets, 10 of which I deem utterly unbreakable, such that to break 3 or more of these unbreakable laws invariably breaks a film. I call these cinema laws, partly inspired by cinema sins and cinema wins, except we tried to focus on the craft of writing, which should be sorted out long before the camera rolls. So, garbage or gold? Let's find out.
The opening is strong. Military bonding or hazing, not quite sure. The drive away, the mission, the matchmaking all make it fun.
You know, I'm getting a little tired of being Fury's janitor.
Relax.
Tired of being Fury's janitor is a smooth, underrated line of dialogue, not only giving us Cap's disposition, but foreshadowing what's to come. Georges Batroc is BSP, oui oui, côté man of balance, and now we are we beat coquille, ah oui, you just RSVP for a can of TT.
Croyais que tu étais plus qu'un bouclier.
Grandpa is going to spank you a lullaby. Sleep, child, sleep. Some say that the confrontation with Nick Fury is pretentious and rings hollow like the moon. Soldiers follow orders, they say, and they know certain missions are classified. So while Captain America's indignation with compartmentalized mission fits a man out of touch with a new world, as a soldier, the argument is that he would be well aware of the inner workings of the military. I agree, and I disagree. I think his compunctions and reservations about the Minority Report style execution of enemies speaks authentically to the spine of a man operating with a black and white moral code in an age of grays. His spine, bequeathed and calling after all, is to be and stay a good man, not a good soldier. With the awareness of the interconnectivity of these movies in the MCU, the films come in afforded with structural latitude that some installments consummate while others don't. The Winter Soldier cleverly straddles this divide, and with less than 15 minutes in, we've had a few exciting dust-ups, and we finally do have the semblance of a central question, and thus, The Winter Soldier narrowly avoids breaking a cinema law as it completes the setup.
We're gonna neutralize a lot of threats before they even happen.
Thought the punishment usually came after the crime.
We can't afford to wait that long.
Steve Rogers is at odds with the direction S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to be taking, and it's him we naturally side with. Nick Fury doesn't seem bothered with the preemptive killing of enemies. He is aligned with the school of thought that Hollywood is fond of pushing, as in, it's not bad if the good guys do it because they're doing it to protect us. Redacted.
I just want to eat.
Nick practically strong-arms Rogers into getting with the program, but gets, don't hold your breath. The Winter Soldier swims into deep political waters, paralleling the real-life presidential kill list and later referencing the Benghazi incident. Yes, you heard that correctly. The US president, a president of a democratic nation, sits with advisors to determine who goes on the kill list in the name of national security. And it's just Tuesday, man. The question the Russo lads had for the film became, can we protect ourselves without the so-called morally reprehensible but absolutely necessary evil of preemptive assassination. The Winter Soldier mines its inspiration from the presidential kill list, and the audacious exploration of this particular theme wins the Winter Soldier at many of its accolades. But the film then goes on to validate the necessity of Project Insight, plus the indiscriminate loss of life in the takedown of the same, with the same logic as a presidential kill list, making it no better. It's like a snake on its own tail as it reiterates the same line. It's okay if the good guys do it. But more about that later. It can be said that Steve goes to the War Museum and on to Peggy to recapture himself, discharge and recharge, and ends up with his soon-to-be sidekick to arm himself for the conflict to come. It's neat exposition and foreshadowing roll into one. Michael Buffer has done his bit, everyone is in their neutral corners waiting for the bell, and boy, what a bell it was. Probably one of my favorite scenes. Uneasy after being locked out of Insight, the attempt on Fury's life right after he calls for reinforcements is brilliant. Want to see my lease? No, but I definitely want one of those cars, mate. But maybe not. What kind of car is so advanced that it temporarily becomes a paperweight? Propulsion systems offline? It's a bloody car. Fury hangs a left and the Winter Soldier just happens to be waiting right in the middle of the road. What if Fury had gone straight? Nifty little gadget, flips the car. And that thing in Fury's hand, it's called a mouse hole, but I'm going to call it the moleculaser, because it apparently cuts metal and changes the molecular structure of tarmac and steel. What do you think? Mouse hole or moleculaser or moleculaser? I think moleculaser sounds more ominous. Rogers isn't too busy to make a move on his neighbor after all. Fury dies, bequeathing him the drive. The neighbor is an agent. Ooh, plot thickens and the Winter Soldier is super strong. This is where the film gets really scary. Rogers doesn't play ball with Pierce and becomes a marked man. The Swiss-German scientist Zola tells him
Hydra covertly runs America's intelligence agencies, and they've created chaos to force humanity to choose security over freedom.
even the king's fool knows that a loss of freedom means governmental control.
Now, if that's a parallel to real life, just like Insight parallels the presidential kill list,
That means Hydra aren't confined to any particular location,
but are a chameleonic, borderless ideologue-based group of adherents at the helm of the most powerful country in the world. And that's quite a lot to swallow, especially considering that a book by Professor of Yale Law School says, redacted,
I just want to eat.
which means
redacted.
I just want to eat.
And that is scary, sir. And The Winter Soldier is a film with balls the size of the planet. Clever, bloody clever if you ask me. If you ever thought that this notion had any credence to it, the making of a film discredits the notion so that any bearer of the notion would be deemed to have watched one movie too many, which is precisely what China said in response to espionage charges in England.
You've watched too many 007 films, my dear.
我认为你已经看过太多詹姆士邦的電影啦。Sorry, pardon, what? 我想先來我那看電影，好不好？行不行？
Steve, we got a bogey. Short range ballistic. 30 seconds tops.
Who fired it?
Shield.
Incoming missile. Whew, there's an app for that too. Agent Sitwell, please stand up. Be a little Dutch boy and plug in a few holes for us, please. I thought this scene was hilarious. The running gag of unsuccessful matchmaking continues and we get a bloody good intro for the Falcon. But this is quickly overshadowed by the utterly titillating and titular Winter Soldier. Oh, he's a badass, isn't he? Bloody hell, look at that arm. They actually gave the arm muscles. That aerial shot is pure and then that Black Widow is really an agile spider. All right, I get that Rogers is a super soldier, but does that mean he doesn't get bruised or suffer lacerations either? Has he got Wolverine's powers dialed up to instantaneous or something? Because that looked like he bloody well hurt.
Oh, you tease. Get your kit off. Come on then, darling, get your kit off.
Oh, you tease. Come on then, get your kit off. Give the ladies something to look at.
Get your kit off. That minigun is really sexy, but why doesn't it occur to the villain to aim for Steve's legs? Well, his stupidity is comforting if nothing else. And now, ladies and gentlemen, do not adjust your telly or your computer or whatever you're watching it on. Je vous présente the best fight in the film. Well, I think so. It leads to that seismic reveal that momentarily paralyzes Rogers.
Who the hell is Bucky?
He so paralyzed that Falcon and then Black Widow have to step in to save Captain America from point-blank shots. They could have all three of them escaped, but Rogers is still reeling as they get arrested, and Natasha and Sam were not about to abandon Steve. The cinematic and psychological integrity of this scene is just top-notch, mate. Dog's bollocks, mate. Standing ovation is just brilliant. The gravity of that reveal bleeds into the next scene. Hill is here.
3 holes, start digging.
The dialogue is snappy, succinct, but Oops, escaped by molecular laser. Hey, hang on a minute, from a moving car? They must have slid out and rolled like Sam did, yeah? Or maybe at a stoplight or something, because they don't look scuffed at all.
They cut you open, your heart stopped.
Tetrodotoxin B.
Tetrodotoxin B. I wonder if that's available over the counter. Bucky gets partial recall, which is not good for Hydra or the film because we're only 90 minutes in. But what right, eh? Bloody hell.
Bloody hell. It's alright, isn't it? It's alright.
So here we are, in the championship round. Our central question and final quest are delineated in this scene where Fury gets reacquainted with the team. It's emotionally taut with that verbal fight to get it right. And you know what? Critics are fond of slagging off Marvel, deservedly so sometimes, but this is one of the good ones. The second act didn't sag at all. That's what I mean, it didn't sag. And that's what screenwriters usually struggle with. There's hardly any flagrant break of writing laws. It's largely devoid of the most glaring and most atrocious cinematic contrivances and expedients, which means it does have some, but it manages to remain absolutely brilliant. You just have to go back and watch this to truly appreciate how well woven it is. It's a great story. And if you love story or sci-fi and you're enjoying the content, go on and hit that like button and I'll be with you till the end of the line. Comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to get volume 1 of my first sci-fi trilogy free. The calm before the storm. The calm before the storm indeed. The depth and cause of his compunctions, his connection to Bucky all hit home, and that line, oh, that line. I'm with you till the end of the line.
I'm with you till the end of the line.
Enter the sounding board. Voice of reason.
I don't think he's the kind you save. He's the kind you stop.
And there goes the bell for the final round. Then the Winter Soldier crashes the bloody party, doesn't he? Bringing this wonderful film to the conclusion. And that final moment where you're not sure what Steve is going to do. Renegade choke! Rogers knows MMA! Oh, he caught up pretty quick, didn't he? So the film wasn't bad, and Mr. Scorsese wasn't wrong when he said there's no emotional risk in Marvel movies. The superheroes don't die, so you never once fear for them. And the same can be said for most franchise films. It's like a story told in first person. The writer never dies, so you're never really afraid for the writer. Things change, though. Phones used to be just phones. Now they're portable computers and video cameras and game consoles and more. Cinema entertains, and the purpose here was to entertain, and I think it did that and made you think without waterboarding your brain. I get what Mr. Scorsese means, and I couldn't agree more, and I also can't like the Winter Soldier any less. The comic book viewer is a percipient viewer and will fill in the gaps because they come in armed with character biographies, backstory, future story, and an overall richer understanding of the story the film is telling. This is why Iron Man was fantastic. It didn't assume viewers were comic book fans. It gave us everything we needed. The Winter Soldier didn't. Thus, when viewed through the lens of a non-comic book fan, as we do for this upload, the film does appear to be riddled with cinematic expedients and narrative inconsistencies. The filmmakers apparently picked and chose what they wanted to follow from the comics. And while there is no rule that says a film has to stay true to source material, consistent physical and psychological verisimilitude is something every story needs. Comic book Batroc is an Olympic-level acrobat with unusually articulate flexibility and near superhuman leaping ability. So while he's not a super soldier, he doesn't need to be because he's almost as skilled and as strong as a super soldier. He's as good a marksman as Bucky, and he's as gifted enough a fighter to command the full attention of a super soldier combatant. The film doesn't tell you this, so you're left wondering why Rogers took so long to dispose of Batroc while a platoon couldn't subdue Rogers in the lift. Comic book Black Widow is enhanced with the Soviet version of the super soldier serum, gifting her peak human strength, not superhuman strength, peak human strength and stamina, as well as resistance to disease, slowed down aging, and rapid healing, perhaps like Wolverine. We don't know. The only way the audience knows this is if they've read the comics, and most viewers haven't. Thus, in the absence of an origin story, if we don't see her prime herself for battle with a dose, we should have at least seen on-screen rapid healing just like they did for Wolverine, because in one scene, she's shot, and moments later, she's as right as rain. Comic book Romlo is a super soldier on a level possibly below Rogers and Bucky. His strength, durability, speed, stamina, and reflexes have been enhanced beyond human. In some accounts, he's defeated Rogers and Bucky in combat and is considered a cyborg. He can run at 36 miles per hour and lift 800 pounds. Exposure to corrupted mist means he can fire focused energy beams from his head, so while he would be too much for the Falcon to handle, he wouldn't need 10 men to subdue Rogers in the lift. It's gold, but as to be expected, some critics slagged it off, man, going on, oh, it's nothing original. Yes, darling, we know it's an evil spy thriller plot from the 70s. Not all of us were alive and watching films in the 70s. Even so, The Winter Soldier was obviously modernized and updated, and even if it wasn't, get over it. It's escapism, darling, and we loves it. It's our precious. Every plot, premise, and theme on the planet has been done to death, and all we care about now is, was it fun? Did you enjoy it? Was the storytelling competent? Was the cinematic and psychological integrity intact? Were you not entertained? I mean, there's only so many ways a boy meets girl, right? By that logic, by your logic, Mr. Critic, we should stop making boy meets girl movies. I mean, but that's just a critic being a critic, though, innit? I do appreciate keeping filmmakers honest, though. You and I both know that even the greatest MMA fighter isn't going to take on two of his peers and survive. So with the UFC slamming reality onto our plates, we know what's fake these days, and it flat out makes some martial art films of old look quite risible. I mean, I gobbled all that up when I was little. I thought it was real. Well, I also thought wrestling was real, didn't I? Anyway, the point is, with a real martial artist, no stunt doubles and cinematic edits are required. And this lends a fight realism and lucidity. Captain America's fight with Georges Batroc is brilliant. Batroc is played by Georges St. Pierre, aka GSP. Il est MMA champion, and you can tell the difference right away. The scenes are almost mostly in full shot, wide angle like cowboy, so you can see everything. Lending the aforementioned lucidity to the scene, making it one of my favorite realistic fight scenes in the film. Alright, that's enough. Yes, I know there's hidden wire work and stunt work, especially in the parts of Rogers, but it's not as obvious, is it? Did you know you need a license to watch telly in England? I am not joking, mate. You need a license to watch telly in England. Anyway, coming from telly, responsible for fairs like Arrested Development, who knew these Russo lads could handle this? But they did, though. And credit to the writers as well. Brandishing the old freedom or security over our heads, the Russo lads tapped into the current events and fears of the time. In the age of WikiLeaks and Big Brother, where government agencies pooed on our heads and told us it was Snowden. It bore a message calibrated to cater to the left and the right as it roared Marvel spectacle, yet whispered sinister tones of Minority Report and Enemy of the State. For all the posturing and digs at the intelligence agencies, Benghazi and the presidential kill list, The Winter Soldier operates and resolutely resolves with the same pervasive propagandic Hollywood logic. Evil is necessary and not necessarily evil, and in fact it's okay if the good guys do it. So while the film tackles the theme of whether we can protect ourselves humanely and exercise restraint, our heroes go on and kill all the Hydra agents indiscriminately, crashing the helicarriers into the Potomac. With Zola's story, the Winter Soldier attempts to lay the blame for the creation of the culture of paranoia on Hydra, to connect it to the first Avenger and exonerate S.H.I.E.L.D., conveniently forgetting that Fury was on board with this kill list until he was locked out and targeted by the algorithm. There was no restraint or resort to due process when Fury shot Pierce. The only modicum of restraint came from Steve Rogers refusing to kill Bucky, a friend with a white mind. This provides no assurance of moral compunction, but rather that as long as the good guys are doing it, POTUS, Rogers, Fury, Romanoff, it's all good. It's a matter of who is doing what and not what's being done. If anything, the Winter Soldier validated what it attempted to subvert, calling diplomacy a holding action. So in the words of Romanoff, whose lies are they telling? Who won? Who is in control in the Winter Soldier? Is it S.H.I.E.L.D. or is it Hydra posturing as S.H.I.E.L.D.? Or is Hydra metastasizing to S.H.I.E.L.D. so much so that it has lost its identity in a way? Released in 2014, The Winter Soldier is dangerous. It is scary. And it's just a movie. Or we could already be moonwalking down a proverbial slippery slope. And only time will tell if The Winter Soldier proves to be prophetic, or whether it did indeed inspire the turmoil and current events in America. Is America and the world at large out of the woods yet? Do we revert to normal or devolve into socio-political barbarism? Do we continue to lie and call the quest for truth political? I mean, we already live in a world where we delete, gag, threaten, and cancel people who disagree with us, just like Project Insight aimed to kill on the directive of an algorithm written for the forcible suppression of opposition regardless of if the proposition is righteous. An algorithm based on a belief in a natural social hierarchy and ultra-nationalist political ideology. So really, I looked around and I trembled as I asked, what's next? Now remember that this film came out almost a decade ago in 2014. And I said it bears a Casandra warning, yeah? A prediction we would all have laughed off as a conspiracy theory. In your head, just think about this Orwellian phrase. The further society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who proclaim it. It's not impotent hate, mind you. Punitive action rides shotgun with hate. The truth is what we say it is. If you disagree, if you don't fall in line, and if you cause enough trouble, Now think about the Minority Report style preemptive killing in The Winter Soldier. The government-sanctioned mass murder of those who dissent with government narrative. Change library cards in The Winter Soldier to social media history. Change algorithm to artificial intelligence. Go beyond the innocuous ChatGPT and QStar on what might come next, and then keep on thinking some more. And if you're not at the very least concerned, ignorance is bliss, and I'm jealous. But you're my superhero because you watched this far. Anyway, you just supported my writing habit.
Subscribe so I can thank you properly with a free copy of Volume 1 of my sci-fi trilogy, TCP.
Thanks to you, I'm converting 25 screenplays into novels. They're all sci-fi, some of them are trilogies, and the first volumes are free to subscribers.
If perchance you're not the reading type and just like the content, thank you all the same. Your simple act of watching, liking, and subscribing gives my life meaning, and I want to thank you for it. So do subscribe for this, more, and other rewards that might be coming your way. Thanks for watching.
Learning from the masters, I've always tended to read novels that become films, like Michael Crichton, John Grisham, Dan Brown, to mention a few. But the story of how Andy Weir's brilliant novel became a film was so inspirational and instrumental to me starting this channel. The next upload, I examine the film and the book. What makes it so brilliant? Watch it next to find out.